Welcome to this past paper tutorial for Food and Nutrition, Paper 2 Practical Test from the exam series October-November 2020. You have 1 hour and 30 minutes for your planning exam. You will need to complete the planning exam by using the preparation sheets that have been given to you by your teacher. You have a choice when filling out the preparation sheets. You can write in them or you can type in them. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using an online app to write in them. Make sure that you write your name and the question number on each of the 3 preparation sheets. It is very easy if you are handwriting it to forget and only put it on the front one. So double check before the end of the exam that this has been filled in. You are only cooking and planning for 2 to 3 people. You may need to adapt recipes by halving the amounts. Make sure that you have identified how your dish answers the question you have been allotted. Make sure that you choose dishes which are nutritionally balanced and need skill to make. High skill dishes will allow more marks in the cooking session and also will allow more marks in the planning section. When you are completing the shopping list, you must total up the quantities. You also need to only use metric. Please do not use cups. These sheets must be left with the examiner and will be given back to you when you start the practical test the following week. For the purposes of this video, we're going to be answering question number 2. Prepare, cook and serve a balanced main meal for 2 teenage friends. A balanced main meal is 2 skillful dishes plus a minimum of 2 suitable accompaniments. When meal planning for 2 teenage friends, you can refer to my up-and-coming video on planning for teenagers. A quick summary: teenagers will definitely need lots of carbohydrates for energy and lots of protein for growth. In part B, we need to make a hot dish with a sauce, followed by a batch of scones. So let's fill in the test number, which is question 2, our centre name, Hogwarts, our examiner name, Mr. Snape, and the candidate name today is Harry Potter. So in the first box, we're going to label our main dish, which is lasagna. I've highlighted the different sauces to show the skills that I will be using when making this dish. The recipe section is not for instructions, but for filling out the ingredients that make up this dish. Just make sure when you're filling in the ingredients that you are only making enough for 2 portions. So, a suitable accompaniment with the lasagna, which will provide lots of vitamins and minerals, was a green salad with a vinaigrette dressing. Make sure when you are including green salads that the quantities are only enough for a small salad. You can see that I have filled in 6 to 8 salad leaves, 3 centimeters of cucumber, and next onto the starter for this meal, which is a hummus dip and breadsticks. This is a yeast dough bread. This is a higher skill dish than using a quick bread because it requires shaping and proving. The legumes provide iron, which is needed for increased blood volume, and the breadsticks are extra carbohydrates. On to section B next, where we need to choose a dish that is a hot dish with a sauce. So I have chosen a sweet dish because in part A I have only used savoury dishes. This pudding will be served with a blended method custard sauce. I've used a blended method as opposed to a roux sauce because that would be a repeated method and I want to avoid doing that in the exam. This particular pudding requires a steaming method of cooking, so that again provides variety in my menu choice. And lastly, for part B, I need to choose to make a batch of scones. Again, because I have used all savoury dishes in the first part of the question, I'm going to need to make sweet scones as opposed to cheese scones in this part of the question. I have included the method of making for scones, which is rubbing in method. I'm going to serve my scones with butter, whipped cream and strawberry jam. Here is the completed menu. Next, onto the shopping list. Remember to fill in the test number and the other boxes on the top of the exam paper. Make sure that as you are writing the ingredients in, that you are totaling up the number of items for that particular ingredient. Also make sure that you are putting in the ingredients into the correct columns. For example, rice would not be put in the packet food section, but would be under the sugars, cereal and cereal products column. When you are filling out the fruit and vegetable column, Try to make sure that you include a size for the vegetables. For example, I've used a large onion and a medium red pepper. Where possible, try to name the types of lettuce and leaves or vegetables that you need. Other ingredients is for anything that doesn't fit under the other categories. In the last section, please include any special equipment that would not normally be in your station, so that can be provided for you. You can also add in items that you will be using for serving of your dishes, and any items that you may bring from home need to be marked with an asterisk. The table should be laid appropriately for the meal that is being served, in this case for 2 teenage friends. Remember that your shopping list must be totalled. Look at the quantities shown and then look at the shopping list. The quantities have been added up and put on the shopping list. You can lose marks for not doing this. On to filling out the order of work and method. Always begin by adding in the start time of your exam. Then go to the bottom of the page and put in the end time. This should be 2.5 hours after the start time. Label it with end of practical exam and write in your first washing up. About half an hour before the end, add in the serving. On your order of work, make sure that you have labelled each of the items that you're going to cook in capital letters to make it thoroughly clear which step you are currently doing. In this case, we start off by making breadsticks because that has to prove and it will take the longest to make. Special points should include preheating. In this case, we need to preheat the steamer to make the pudding. Make the instructions brief but clear so the examiner can see that you understand what method has been used and how to create the dish. You need to fit all of the work on one page. We are making the pudding straight after the breadsticks because this will take 1.5 hours in the steamer. You can make your time intervals anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. I've chosen 30 minutes. Now at 9:30 we're going to include a washing up. Remember, you need to add 3 washing ups to get your full marks. To start the lasagna, we are making the meat sauce, which involves sautéing the vegetables and the meat gently. We will then pre-soak the lasagna sheets to help with the cooking. We do this by boiling a kettle and then soaking them in hot water. Remember to use the correct vocabulary when you are describing the methods, like covering, simmering, sifting, etc. So the next dish up is going to be the scones because they have to have time to cool before they are served. Notice how I've included the words rub in fat to flour. That's important to get a method mark at that point. We've preheated the oven so we can put the scones straight in the oven and bake them on the middle shelf for 20 minutes. Now we can make the roux sauce for the lasagna. This is called dovetailing. You will get marks for this because you are completing more than one task at the same time. So once the sauce has cooked and thickened, we can assemble the lasagna. So remember, we need to take the scones out of the oven and allow them to cool. It is too early to cook the lasagna, so we're going to cover and refrigerate it. We need to take it straight out of the oven when it is finished baking and serve it hot later on. Now that our breadsticks dough has proved, it's time to shape it and then to brush with oil and sprinkle with sea salt before we bake them in the oven. We've just got time for another washing up. Next we're going to start our hummus. So we'll add all the ingredients into the food processor and then blend it to a suitable texture. We're baking the breadsticks at 190 degrees on the middle shelf for 20 minutes. The hummus can be refrigerated until we are ready to serve. It is time now to prepare the salad. So we need to wash, tear, peel and chop all of the vegetables and place it in the fridge until we are ready to serve. Avoid combining the salad and the dressing at this point. It will make the salad soggy and not very pleasant to eat. We now need to preheat the oven to 180 degrees, ready to bake the lasagna in the oven. We're going to bake that for 35 minutes in the middle shelf. It's time to remove the pudding from the steamer and allow it to cool slightly before we are ready to serve it. So next we need to make the custard sauce to go with the pudding. We do this by whisking the corn flour and sugar together and then heating the milk, blending it together with the milk and then cook until thickened. Lastly, we're going to whip up and flavour our cream ready for serving our scones. So remember, we put in that serving section at 11. It's time to fill in all the details of each of the individual dishes. There's 5 marks and you have 5 dishes. So you need to make sure you have shown the examiner how you're going to serve each of the dishes. The temperature, what it's going to be served in, and whether it's going to be garnished or not. At this point, we need to take out the lasagna as it is cooked and serve this hot with the salad in the bowl. We need to make sure that we have switched the oven off.